So now you're ready to go to the third section of this laboratory work. It is your tasks. So what we need to do? We need to define such 4 indicators according to all our theoretical information about how to build how to use the input-output model. So first of all, we need to define gross output of each industry. It is our XI. Then inter-branch deliveries, Xij. Then the net product of each sector or added value of each sector, Vj. And then the full cost coefficients, Bij. And what kind of information we have to do all necessary calculation? It is our outputs of data, or it is our table where you can find that our economy consists of 4 sectors. And that's why you remember that each sector, according to this input-output model, play double role. At the same time, it could be as a supplier and as clients. And we have into this table information about direct costs, coefficients. It is here, this matrix. And then we also have information about our final demand, and you can use your individual variant according to your number in the group. And all calculations today I will doing with using the first variant. And first of all, what we need to do it is to copy this table into our Excel tables of laboratory work number 1. That's why I will change our demonstration, and I go to our Excel file. And you can see first our table. I put all necessary information and I use the first variant. So you can see the cells where you need to correct information and use your appropriate variant according to your number in the group. And we can start doing the first calculation. But you remember that according to your task, the first task is to find output of industry, of each industry. And now we can transform these inputs into more probably appropriate form, which we will use, and probably it will help you to understand more clearly why we use in different places some of indicators in appropriate way. So first of all, we know that in this place, in this matrix, we have our direct costs, and you should remember that we denote all this information with symbol A, and we can detail this information by using this kind of a matrix where you can see all symbols of all our elements of matrix of direct costs. And in this place we need to just copy or put all our inputs into this matrix, and then we will use it. But for your convenience, I also detailed the indexes of all these elements which you have into your laboratory work number 1. Then the same we need to do with our final demand. It is our information from this column of inputs. And in this way, we are ready to go to the next step. Next step, it is to find outputs of each industry. So we have 4 industries, and that's why we need to define how much products each our sector of economy of industry should produce. So for this reason, we need to use some formulas, and you can find in your guidelines these formulas, and I put this formula into this place that you be sure that we use the right algorithms. That's why if you take a look at this formula, you can see that we need to have some necessary elements. And F elements, you can see we have, it is this information. We can you can see that we have also all elements of matrix A, but we haven't E, it is our identity matrix. And according to your mathematical probably knowledge from the mathematical disciplines, you should know that identity matrix, it is a matrix which has on the diagonal all elements which are equal 1, and the other elements are equal 0. So if we talk about our situation, that we talk about our 4 supplies for economic sectors, it means that we will talk about identity matrix with size of 4 by 4. That's why we need to use this matrix according to this view, and then we need to do next step. Next step, you can see that we need to subtract from identity matrix all elements of matrix A, because again, I want that you recall that we talk about vector form of this formula, vector form, and we talk about matrix, and we talk about some actions with matrix, and in this situation we need to know some rules how to act with matrix. So if you see the formula that we need to subtract from E our matrix A, it means again that we talk about some matrix view of this formula. That's why we need to do some extra calculations. So what we need to do? We need to build new matrix. It also will have the same size like our identity matrix, because we talk about 4 sectors of economy, 4 by 4 size, 4 by 4. And that's why we need to what to do, just to fill this matrix of E minus A. How to do it? It's very simply, because we need to each elements of matrix E subtract each elements of matrix A. So we can do it in this way. Then we straighten the line, and then stretch the line down, and in this way we just fill all our elements of this new matrix. So you can see that always is correct, that everything is correct. For example, if you want to define or probably to check if all our calculations in this cell is correct, we just go on these formulas, and we can see that really it must 1 in this case from matrix E subtract or minus our 0.08 in matrix A. So everything is correct. So it means that we able to go to our next step. And next step, you can see that we need to use not only this matrix in this view, but we need to take this matrix, inverse it. And that's why we talk about inverse matrix. And again, the size of this matrix also will be the same like our previous matrix. It will be 4 by 4. And if you recall our theoretical information, we also can denote this inverse matrix like full costs coefficients matrix, which we denote by symbol B. And now we need to define it. So how we can inverse some matrix into Excel? It's very easy, because for this reason we need to use some Excel function, minverse or mober in Russian or Ukrainian language. But also, I want to emphasize that if you want to get in quickly way information in this matrix for all elements, you need to fill all range of this matrix, not only one cell or two, but all matrix, all elements. And then you go to this place, you put equation, and then you need to put this mober function or minverse if you use in Excel English language. So I use mober. And then you can see that we need to put some massive. What kind of matrix we want to inverse? Not E, but E minus A. That's why we need to fill all our massive from this matrix, all. Then we close parentheses. And if we want that all elements was filling, we need to insert simultaneously Ctrl-Shift-Enter, Ctrl-Shift-Enter. And in this way, you can see that all our matrices are filled by correct values. Good. Then if we have our inverse matrix, we have, it is our first component of these formulas. It is first component, and we have all necessary information about this component. Also, we have all necessary information about our vector f. That's why what we need to do, we need to multiply this matrix, inverse matrix, by vector f. For this reason, we need to use a function in Excel, mult in English language, or mumnoj in Russian or Ukrainian language. And again, for this reason, we need to, again, fill all our elements. In this place, we will find the outputs of each industry. So we defined 4 values because we have 4 industries. We again write mumnoj or mult, mumnoj. And you can see that we must put 2 massive of information. So the first massive, according to this formula, it is our inversive matrix. So we fill all these elements. Then you can see that we need to put a semicolon. It is necessary because Excel needed. And then we put massive, the second massive, it is our information from final demand, and it is our vector f. Then we again close parentheses, and again we need to insert simultaneously Ctrl-Shift-Enter. Good. So in this way, we find how much products must produce each sectors of economy. So first sector of economy must produce this value, the second this value, the third this value, and the fourth this value. And also for us will be more convenient if we will put this information into this line, because then our next task is to find interbranch deliveries, and we will use, it will be more convenient for us if we transpose this elements of these vectors into this line. We need for this reason, we just go to the first, for example, cell where we where you can see the amount of outputs of first sector of economy and put this value. Then we do the same with other sectors, and now we will use it for our next step. The second our task, according to this laboratory work, is to find interbranch delivery metrics. Metrics, because we talk about relationship between different sectors. We have 4 sectors, so each kind of sectors play double role. It could be supplier, it could be clients. So we understand that the maximum number of possible deliveries is equal 4 by 4 is equal 16. So we need to define 16 values of this matrix. And for this reason, we will use these formulas. And in these formulas, you can see, so we need to use 2 components. First of all, it has our information about direct cost coefficients, and we can use our matrix A or the same information in this place. And the next component, it is our information about sum of products which can produce each kind of our sectors of economy. It is our xj. And also we know information about xj. We define it in this place. So also for your convenience, I put or I fill the matrix, and each element of interbranch delivery matrix I write into equation form, and probably it will help you to understand and probably to avoid mistakes when you will do your laboratory work with according to your individual number in the group. So according to these formulas, we can define our matrix of deliveries. So in this way, what we need to do, we can see that first, to find the first element, we need to multiply A11 by X1, A11 by X1. Yes. Then you can see that to find deliveries from the second to the first sector, we need to what to do? We need to use our direct cost coefficients R21 and multiply it by, again, the sum of products which our first industry want to produce. So it is equal, again, 357. And again, we want to find how much products our third sector must deliver to the first sector, and for this reason we need to take point 14, so our direct costs, and multiply it by the sum of products which we need to produce in the sector number 1. And we do the same for the rest are industries. So what we need to do, we need to take this value and multiply it by this value. Oi. Good. So next step, we need to do the same algorithm, but according to the sector number 2. So in this case, it means that this sector, to produce some products, need to buy some products from other sectors, and that's why all these requirements is reflected into our direct cost coefficients, and it also will depend not only from this information, but also from the information about how much the products our second sector must produce. That's why we talk about this multiplication. So in this case, we again use information about our direct cost coefficients. We multiply it by sum of products of the second sectors. And probably if you want to do it in more quickly way, you need to fix what kind of information. Of course, you can see according to this, for example, column on this matrix of interbranch deliveries that according to different kind of sectors, we use the same products of each industry, X2. In this column, it is X2. In this column, X3. In this, it is X4. That's why we just can fix X2 for all elements in this column. And for this reason, you need to insert F4, and in this way you will see some signs of dollars, and it will be means that you can just change this line without necessity to write each kind of elements. And in the same way, we can repeat this action for the columns. For example, in this way, we also insert the sign of dollar, or you insert F4, and then again straight the line in Excel. And again, you use for the last R column the same actions, and then strands down the line. So in this way, we fill all elements of our interbranch deliveries. And now you can find the answers. How much products must, for example, in the third sectors deliver to the fourth, for example, sectors. It will be equal of 45.09. For example, if you want to define how much products must the fourth sector deliver to the second sector, it will be equal 33.72. So it is easy way to find interbranch deliveries, and it will be one of my questions when we will do oral defending of your laboratory work. That's why be careful and do not any mistakes in these calculations. And we can go next, and our next indicator which we must to find into this laboratory work is added value or net product of each industry. So again, we talk about 4 industry. We need to define 4 net products, and according to your theoretical information, you probably can recall that when we talk about added value, we talk about the cost point of view, how to define our amount of output of each industry. And for this reason, to define added value, we need to use this basic formula you can find that in this case we have no information about VJ, and that's why we just what to do, what we need to do. We need to, from each our amount of output of each industry, subtract the sum of deliveries. And when we talk about cost point of view, again recall theoretical information that when we talk about the cost point of view, we talk about columns of our basic table. But when we will talk about our demand, we will talk about the rows. So in this case, we talk about our columns information according to interbranch deliveries, and in this way we can calculate the added value, for example, for the first our industry. For this reason, what we must do, we need to take amount of outputs of the first industry. We have this information in this place or in this place. It doesn't matter what kind of cells you will use, but then you need to subtract the sum of deliveries by columns. The sum of deliveries we can use from this matrix of interbranch deliveries. So we need to subtract all 4 elements which coordinate with all deliveries which first sector must do when produce its products. So we need to extract all these elements, and it will be equal to your added value or net product of first industry. The same action we need to do to find the added value of the second industry. So we need subtract from all amount of products of this industry. We need to extract all deliveries to other branches. And we can just stretch the line, and in this easy way we find all necessary information. So now I want to again change the demonstration and go to your guidelines. So we find xy, we find xij, we find yj. The full cost of coefficients we also find, and all this information we find when we invert our matrix. It is our matrix B, and this is matrix. It is matrix of full coefficients. So you can see where we have the necessary information. So it means that we find all these indicators, but it is not the end of our laboratory work, because we have some central probably question of application input-output model, and I recall this information. We underline it on the theoretical part. So the central question is about how our X will react on changing in F. So that's why the last your task into this laboratory work is how will change the output of each industry if the fixed rates of direct costs are constant. So we will use the same matrix of direct cost coefficients, the same, but if Fi will change by 8%. And you can see that in these guidelines we talk about students of 2 groups, but in your case we have only one English group students. That's why we will use information that F1, so final demand from the first sector, will be changed or will increase by 8%. And then we need to define again all the same indicators and then create new table of inter-branch deliveries. So again, we return to our Excel tables, Excel file, and what we need to do, we have information about new F1, so we need to build a new vector of our final demand and how we can do it. So if our F1 will change or will increase by 8%, it means that we need to do what? I need to take this value and multiply it 1 plus 8%. Or in short way, it is also will be correct if we just F1 will multiply by 1.8. So it doesn't matter how you can find it, but it is right way. So next, components of final demand vectors doesn't change. That's why we can put the same information from our inputs table. And then we need to define, according to this new information, this new vector f, we need to define new vector of x. If you remember, for this reason, we use these formulas. And if you remember again that the first component of this formula we call inverse matrix, and inverse matrix are the same because all our direct costs are fixed, say it means that the full cost also will be without change. That's why we need to use this matrix and multiply it by new vector of f. And for this reason, we use this function in Excel or in Ukrainian English, mumnosh. So for this reason, we again just do not forget to fill all our elements, then use formulas mumnosh. And first massive, it will be our inverse matrix, then semicolon, put semicolon, and then we need to use the second our massive, and second massive, it is our new vector f. And close the parentheses and insert simultaneously Ctrl-Shift-Enter. So in this way, we find our outputs of each industry and we can put this information into this row. So it will be amount of outputs of first, second, third, and fourth sectors of economy. Next, what we need to do, it is to fill matrix of interbranch deliveries. For this reason, we again use the same formulas, and we need to use our direct cost from this matrix and multiply it by a new values of amount of outputs of each industry. So in this case, it means that again, we need to use A11 multiplied by X1, then again A12 multiply it by again X1, etc. And if you remember, we to do all this action in more quickly way, we can fix this X1 for first column, then X2 for the second column. So in this column, we fixed by using F4, and stretch this line down, and do the same. For this reason, I just change necessary cell and the last one, this X4. Good. So we find all our interbranch deliveries according to our new final demand on products from the first sector. And now we also can put information about this final demand. And then we need to define the last hour indicated as added value or net product V. So for this reason, what we need to do, we need to extract from our gross output of first industry all our deliveries from other sectors. And we can stretch this line. And if you want to check if your all calculations are correct, we need to remember that in theoretical information we told about the equation between sum of our final demand and sum of our added value. And if it is if we have equation, it means that all your calculations are correct. So that's why you can check this equation, and in this cell I find the sum of final demand, and in this cell I find the sum of added value or net products. And you can see that they are equal to each other, and it means that all our calculations are correct. So it is the end of this laboratory work number 1.